This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Regina Lee.
Well, welcome to today's edition of the Good Neighbor Podcast. Today, I'm excited to have a conversation with Jessie Lindberg of Turning Point. She is the executive director. Welcome, Jessie.
Thank you. It's so great to be here with you.
I'm very excited. I happen to know about you guys, but tell our listeners, what does Turning Point do?
Turning Point is the only victim services agency in Union County, and we serve survivors of domestic violence, child abuse, and sexual assault. So we have a 42-bed domestic violence shelter, and that's where we serve people fleeing intimate partner violence and their children who are under 18. So they'll come to us if they are in a situation where they're in imminent danger and need to kind of get back on their feet and start over and get out of an abusive scenario. And then we also run the Treehouse Children's Advocacy Center, and there we serve children who have been sexually abused, physically abused, or who have witnessed very severe violence. And then we also have our Sexual Assault Resource Center, and that is where we are providing 24-hour real-time response for survivors of sexual assault. We'll meet them at the hospital, hold their hand if they're getting a sexual assault kit. Yes, that's what it's called. And then everything, subsequent to that as far as counseling and any other support that they need. And then we also do a lot of extensive prevention education in our community. So we're in the schools, kindergarten through 12th grade, providing prevention education, and also just to the community, civic agencies, businesses who might, have a very large employee base and they want people to know, what does domestic violence look like? What are those red flags? And then also how employers can support survivors as well.
So a random question, I'm just thinking, if you are in that kind of situation and it is an emergency and you don't happen to remember the name of you guys, do you just call 911? And how does it work?
You can call 911. You can also call, we have 2 crisis lines that are available 24 hours a day, but you can also call, there's also the national domestic violence and sexual assault crisis lines as well, and they would direct you towards Union County if that's where you are and where you're actually needing help specifically. But we have crisis lines as well, and those are active 24/7 for people who need us.
So then what happens? Someone reaches out. What is your approach?
So for domestic violence, it's really important that the survivor themselves is who actually calls us, because we need to do an assessment and really get a feel for what that situation is and how we can best serve them. So once they contact us, we have a list of questions that we ask, and then if we determine that we're going to go ahead and bring them in, we meet them at an undisclosed location so that we're not having somebody drop somebody off here at the shelter, so that our location remains as confidential as possible. For the Treehouse, that is only for referrals from law enforcement or DSS for suspected child abuse. And that's really because that process from beginning to end for the prosecution of these offenders and also the health and well-being of the child, nothing falls through the cracks. And so that's keeping all of those disciplines that are involved in child abuse in the loop. And so that's why it's so important that DSS or law enforcement be that first referral. And then the Sexual Assault Resource Center is kind of similar to the domestic violence scenario. We have a crisis line, they call, and then they'll speak with our advocate, and we'll go ahead and provide them with whatever services that they need.
That's fabulous. Yes. So when I'm on your website and I'm just looking at everything you guys do on the prevention piece, talk to us about that a little bit.
Prevention is so important as far as the children's go. It's making sure that we are increasing the disclosure rate for child sexual abuse, because it's so dramatically low, and that is leaving children, really who have been traumatized without receiving the interventions that they need to heal. And trauma for a child causes some very serious impacts throughout their life, and not just the ones that we think of, right? Like mental health issues like PTSD, but also physical impacts like stroke, heart disease, heart attack, those types of things, in addition to obviously substance use and juvenile delinquency and all of those things. So we want to move the needle on the disclosure rate. So in K-5, we're doing a prevention education for them, really teaching them how do you keep your body safe and what are the rules around body safety, and we kind of sandwich it in between the stuff that they already know, which is, what are the rules when you're on the bus, and what are your rules for a fire drill, that type of thing. And it's nothing, it's nothing scary, it's nothing overtly, sexual in what we're talking to them about, but it's really more about how do we empower them to disclose abuse if it happens? How do we tell them to trust their gut instinct, that uh-oh feeling that we all have when we know something isn't right? And then most importantly, who are your 5 trusted adults that you can go to if you are experiencing something scary? Because sometimes the first person you go to on your list is not going to help you, or maybe even they're the person hurting you. And so we kind of go through that list with them. So that's the K-5 aspect of what we do. And then middle and high school is teen dating violence prevention. What's unhealthy in a relationship? What are the red flags of something that's unhealthy? And, how do you keep yourself and your friends safe? So that's that other piece, and really addressing also these awful social norms that we have that are really contributing to unhealthy relationships. If we actually show them some of the lyrics on some of the songs that they're listening to and how awful they are, and how they're really almost condoning the perpetration of violence against girls. And so really addressing that too, and trying to get kids to speak out about it, and then also to keep themselves safe.
Right, right. So let's say you're a third party and you are suspicious and you don't know if you should get involved, but are you guys a resource for that kind of a situation where you might
Oh,
just,
yeah,
okay.
absolutely. And we list a lot of that on our website, turningpointnc.org. It shows what the red flags of unhealthy relationships are. It shows what that might look like to somebody who loves somebody else, and, the alienation, and, removing people from their support system, and no financial independence, those types of things. And those are things that people who care about somebody can kind of catch on to pretty quickly. And so, yeah, we kind of give those red flags on our website so that people understand what they might be looking for.
Yeah, quite a complicated process because, there's breaking of the law. You guys have to work so closely with the police and everything. That is something. Um, I know about your Second Chance Boutique. So
Yep.
speak to us a minute about that because I love this place.
Oh, they're the best. So not only, they're such a service in so many ways. So they're providing, really inexpensive, amazing quality stuff to our community for people who may fall on hard times, or for people who just like to thrift and find little treasures. But so the items are donated to our stores
Mhm.
by our community, and our community is overwhelmingly generous at those stores. And let me tell you, they donate some pretty amazing stuff. You can find items in there and you're like, I can't believe somebody donated
Right,
this, and I
right.
better snatch it up because it won't be here in like an hour. So people donate their gently used clothing, home decor, um, small furniture, you name it, housewares, dishes, pots, pans, you name it. And then we sell it at a really reasonable price to our community. And those stores really keep us in the black. They're about 34% of our operating revenue. And that really allows us to just be less reliant on grants and the government and all those revenue streams that are really unpredictable and volatile. And so we have this revenue stream coming in that we control, which is really amazing. But it's also a great outreach tool for us, right? People may come in and shop and be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know Turning Point existed. And maybe they
Right.
might need our help, or maybe they want to support us. And so they're just a great community outreach aspect for us, and we love them. And they just did the store flip. They do twice a year. They literally empty the store out and refill it, and the stores look incredible. So yeah, I definitely encourage people to go shopping. There's one in Waxhaw and one in Monroe.
So the one in Waxhaw is where I go, and it's where the Food Lion kind of
Yep,
headed into town.
yep,
Stacks Kitchen is
yep.
there. A nice little shopping center. Where's the one in Monroe?
The one in Monroe is on Old Charlotte Highway, kind of right as you're coming almost close to downtown Monroe. It's right as you're headed into Monroe, and it's a great store. It's massive. It's huge, and we really like to consider them upscale boutiques. So this isn't your like run of the mill thrift store. We literally like Windex every vase. We're steaming every article of clothing before it goes out. Oh yeah, those things are so labor intensive. Our store teams are incredible, and the volunteers that work in them, because we need volunteers. We would fall off a cliff with those stores if we didn't have volunteers. So
Wow, wow. So it's run by volunteers. The things you're selling is all donated.
mhm.
That's
We do
huge.
have paid staff. We do have
Okay.
some paid staff because there's such a bear. Those stores are a handful, and so we do have paid staff. But again, in order to kind of keep ourselves in the black with those stores and getting them to give us the revenue that we need, we do rely on volunteers.
That is very, very cool. So let's say one of our listeners wants to get involved, help support you guys, either financially or volunteer. How does that work? And what are you looking for?
Well, I mean, we are just looking for people who care and want to support survivors and want to bring them out of the isolation and the stigma and the trauma that they've experienced. And so if you have a passion and if you understand how pervasive domestic violence and child abuse and sexual assault is unfortunately right in our own community, it's amazing to volunteer with Turning Point, and I promise you it will be life changing. So that's our only parameters, is that you care about our survivors. But we actually, our website is really user friendly, and to volunteer, we have the whole process is online. You can fill out your application, and then once a month we do a volunteer orientation here at the shelter, and that just kind of allows people to figure out where they want to plug in and what's really going to fulfill them. So if it's, making a meal for our shelter clients, or doing some activities with the kids in the shelter, or kind of being behind the scenes on the administrative side of what we do, or volunteering in the stores, which we always need. So there's really a place to plug people in however they want to be plugged in. And we encourage people to be creative too. We have people that come to us and say, I really think the shelter kids would love this. Can we do it? Yes. And of course they can. So we encourage people to think outside the box. But the volunteer orientation is a great place to get started. And our website, again, really lists everything that we do, and also provides avenues by which people can donate financially to us. We even have a whole planned giving section. So how can you leave us in your will? How can you do a donor advised fund? How can you get your IRA rollover that you have to do before December 31st? How can Turning Point benefit from that? So our website's really thorough, and it's a great place to start.
So what is that website address?
It is turningpointnc.org.
Gotcha. Yes, it's very informative. And you referred to a location. Is that open for people to come to,
Yeah.
or is that?
Yeah, the shelter location, we don't list it on our website. We don't list it on Google. And that's really just to make sure that we are keeping our clients safe. I mean, we have babies here at the shelter. We have kids. So we don't publicize it. However, we have people coming here donating things, and we have volunteers coming to do yard work and work with the shelter kids.
Oh.
So that address, of course, is made available as people are going to come and volunteer for us.
So you don't have to live in Union County to give, because this
my goodness,
podcast
no.
reaches a big area of the Charlotte metro. So
that's right.
That is fabulous. So once again, should they call you, or what is the preferred method to get involved and reach you?
They are more than welcome to call. So our main number is 704-283-9150. And I'm the executive director, but you can also ask for Kristen. Kristen Dixon is our director of community engagement. She's amazing. And so any of us will be happy to plug you in. And then our website is really, really user-friendly and informative too. And so that is turningpointnc.org. And that's also a great place to start, and really allows you to just read further into our mission and what we're doing every day, and really the impact that we're making on our community.
Right. And you've been around since 1985. Is that correct?
We started as just a group of ladies who really saw that domestic violence was an issue here in Union County, and they wanted to do something to help. So it started with a crisis line, and then it morphed into support groups. And then fast forward to 2024, and we're this beautiful facility here 24/7 for people. And then also the Treehouse Children's Advocacy Center and the Sexual Assault Resource Center came on board with Turning Point in 2015. And it just makes so much sense because there's so much crossover between each of our disciplines. And so it makes sense that we would be serving all victims of abuse and violence, not just domestic violence. And so, we're really proud to be here 24/7 for the people that need us.
Really fantastic work. So impressive, Jessie. Thank you very much for being on our show today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful to share the story of Turning Point with your listeners, and we're so grateful.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpsouthcharlotte.com. That's gnpsouthcharlotte.com or call 980-351-5719.